Alicia Hayes.
Present.
This button here. Amy
So I
Horn.
Present, and I don't know what, I just wanted to say that I couldn't hear anything until about my name was called, so I'm not sure if there's anything I missed before that.
was going to say the same thing. I didn't hear a thing until my name was called.
I think you just missed the call to order. We're just doing roll call. Should we
Okay,
maybe
I've had
start
it on
over?
for a while. I just didn't hear anything.
Should we start roll call over?
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Again, this is the beginning of the Heritage Preservation Commission meeting for January 15th, 2025. For roll call, Emily Dale, present.
Abby Buckham.
Present.
Alicia Hayes.
Present.
Amy Horn.
Present.
Bernadette Burcham.
Present.
Duffy Westheimer.
Present.
Thank you.
All right, we will now move on to land acknowledgement, which will be read this month by Commissioner Buckham.
The Heritage Preservation Commission humbly acknowledges the ancestral homelands of this area's indigenous nations and original stewards. These lands, still inhabited by native descendants, border mountains sacred to indigenous peoples. We honor them, their legacies, their traditions, and their continued contributions. We celebrate their past, present, and future generations who will forever know this place as home.
Great, thank you. As a reminder, are those things going on in the chat? Oh, okay. Just as a reminder to people on Teams, don't put things in the chat because they're not part of the official record, correct?
Yes, the commissioners only should put in C or Q if they have a comment or question, so you can call on them.
Thank you. I just saw little notifications and beeps going on up there. All right, we will now move on to the approval of minutes. Do we have any amendments or questions about the minutes for Wednesday, December 18th, 2024?
So I don't know why we've gone to such minimal minutes. I know you said something about going to YouTube to look at the video, but I don't know where that is on YouTube. And I don't know that legally YouTube is can be the city's method for retaining public meetings.
We have changed the style of minutes on the advice of the clerk, who does have legal advice that the way we are doing this meets all the requirements. So
I'm not necessarily questioning if the action only minutes are legal. I don't know why we're not making transparent what's going on at public meetings. And then the question about YouTube is separate.
yes, so it has been determined that YouTube is a allowable place for us to post meeting videos, which can meet the requirements for minutes.
So that being the case, what's the retention policy for commission meeting videos as our minutes?
I would have to have the clerk answer that question for you, who's not present right now. Yeah.
I would like to know that because it's useful to go back and look at minutes, but sometimes the retention policy, I mean, there needs to be a good one that makes those available to the public.
Sure. If you want more information on this, we can have Stacy write you a memo or something. Sure.
But I think when this went into effect, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, something like that, you explained that like there's like transcriptions and everything. So instead of having just like little summaries in the agenda, someone can go and read like the actual specific words that everybody was saying, rather than, we were just having so many problems with, things being recorded more succinctly than.
Transcription is difficult. I get that. I do it.
Yeah. So I think it's just there's an even more full record than what was even being put on the agenda. And so why, have it
Well, unless people don't know where to go to find it, and I don't know where to go to even find our own videos. And so that's why I'm curious about these things. That's why I had questions.
Yeah, a memo or makes sense.
I do know that it does record and transcribe at the same time, and those become available to the public.
Yeah, we can see the transcription
Oh, where's,
like on Nancy's computer while she's recording. So
so where is the transcription?
usually we upload it as this closed captions to the video. If you ever want to sit down and like tomorrow when we upload the video, I can show you how it's uploaded and how they're connected.
I think we should be cognizant of the value of these meetings and making that information available to the public into the future.
Oh, yes, Commissioner Horn. Sorry, I can't read it from this angle.
I share some of Commissioner Westheimer's concerns, just as far as this is, a long-term record and 100 years from now, is that transcription available? And transcription sounds great and more accurate than, somebody taking notes. I just want to be reassured that not just for us, but for the council meetings and all the commissions, that those are archived somewhere and they're a permanent record, where digital media, we all know its longevity is not as assured.
I just went to YouTube and did a search for Flagstaff Heritage Preservation Commission, and all of our meetings just immediately popped up. And I look very bored in some of the screenshots, and I'm disappointed in the date that was used as the thing. But yeah, they're like all there. Even the one where we had the subcommittee for the nomination to the Flagstaff Register. Going back.
Maybe that should be somewhere so that the public knows to go do that. Because I don't think it says anywhere that it's on YouTube or what search terms could be used. Can't assume that the public are sophisticated in terms of finding things on the computer.
Commissioner Westheimer, I believe there is a link, like if you looked up our Heritage Preservation Commission website, I think there's a link to the videos and all the minutes and the agendas. So if somebody, it should come up on like the first Google search. If you search the city, it should be available from that page. I don't know if Lauren maybe could pull it up. And if it's not, we'll double check that. We can do that.
And we could look into including the link, specific link for each meeting in the minutes, just so it's a direct link to each one.
I like that idea.
That would be awesome.
My internet's being really slow because I'm also trying to look this up.
Okay, so here is the Heritage Preservation Commission page, and when you click on the recent agendas minutes, it's not giving me the full screen. Well, maybe this is a bad example because it's the current month. Let's go back. You're
I
being
clicked on
recruited
one
to
of the
join
videos and got
fire
an ad for
department.
Call of Duty.
Yeah.
I remember when I had missed a meeting or two, I went to the website and I was able to click on the agenda or the meeting, and then the videos would come right up. And I think it's linked to YouTube, if I'm not mistaken. So it was really easy to get to when I had missed it. So yeah, I went right to the city website and then I had clicked on it. And yeah, it wasn't too difficult to look it up. So I didn't have any issues with it.
Let's see, maybe it's already linked in the. We will investigate and get back to you. I thought there was another link to the video over here on the side.
Right, any other questions or comments about last month's meeting minutes? right, can I get a motion to approve?
I will make a motion to approve the meetings from December 18th, 2024.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Buckham. Do we have a second?
I will second that motion.
And a second from Commissioner Bertram. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you.
Chair Dale, I think you skipped over the public comment.
Sorry, wait, one more time.
I think you skipped over.
I mean, item
YouTube
number
was still
4.
playing for no reason. Oh, I skipped.
We thought it was you talking, Commissioner Hayes, but it was YouTube.
And it was Commissioner Hayes on YouTube.
It was YouTube, Commissioner Hayes talking. Sorry, we got confused for a second.
Yeah, I did skip item number 4.
Thank you.
But I was just strategically rearranging the agenda. No. So yes, if any members of the public have a comment on an item not on the agenda, now is your time to speak. Okay. We will now move on to general business with an update on the historic signs and facades grant funding.
Yes, okay. So here is the updated spreadsheet for this month. There are no major changes since last month, except that you approved the change of the 823 West Aspen from 10,000 to 20,000. So that's now reflected on the spreadsheet, and therefore so is the new total that we have 5,000 left to award for this year. And when I put this together for the agenda, a payment was still pending for that recipient, but it was possibly finalized last Friday. Otherwise, will most likely be finalized this Friday. So so that's good news, and will be reflected next month in the spreadsheet. So, and then we're still working with the recipient above at 416 South San Francisco on getting everything in line there. So those are the big updates. Any questions on this item?
Commissioner Horn?
Yeah, most of our awards have been over $5,000. It looks like there's only one that has been. So can that $5,000 be carried over to next fiscal year, or does it need to be expended this year?
Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it can be carried over to next year. I think both whatever's remaining, or for these few, if we haven't paid them out by June 30th, then we can carry them all over to next fiscal year.
Actually, so it's changed over time. I'll say that. So whatever we have not spent on June 30th goes back to the BBB fund, and then the BBB fund reallocates money to us. So if we approve something in like October, it can be next year money, essentially. So it can like fold over into the next year. So when we create the FY 2026, fiscal year 2026 one, we will include at the start of that fiscal year everything that is still obligated but has not been paid from the previous fiscal year's approvals. Does that make sense?
But the remaining $5,000 just gets reabsorbed,
Correct.
and then maybe we'll get it back again.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And-
when is like the deadline to? So June 2025 is the last time we can approve this $5,000.
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Okay.
Though if someone comes in for, 5,000 is rare. Usually people come in for the full 10,000 or 20,000. We have told applicants that March is when that full amount will be available again for you to start obligating for the next fiscal year against.
So could we say, yes, you can have $5,000 from this year, like if someone applies in March, and then $5,000 from the future pot?
I don't think it would matter. I think
Okay.
it would be next year money unless they spent it before June 30th.
Oh, okay. All right. Commissioner Horn, did that answer your
Not
question?
confusing at all, right? Like to go on the record that I'm not an accountant.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Right. Commissioner Westheimer?
Yeah, so just for clarification's sake, the $5,000, if it's not spent by the 30th of June, it goes back to BBB. and then they reallocate money, but we don't get plus $5,000. So we do lose it.
I would just add, I have had in the last month, I think 3 different contacts about our grant, but they're all looking for $10,000 to $20,000. So they would be applying next year. I don't think, unfortunately, no interest in the in the smaller 5,000 amount.
So tell your friends and family that if they have small projects or strangers in the street. I just on this item, I just wanted to thank Duffy again for giving us a tour of the Sago Lily House. It was great to see what that money went towards and seeing the improvements of the house and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Happy to do it. I'll show it to anyone. I'm curious what these 3 codes under meeting date mean. 45505, 45553, and 45536 mean for the items in the dark bands. What does that mean?
I think Excel just just reformatted the cell into something random. That is a thing that just happens for some reason. Excel, especially the most recent version, just doesn't seem to like dates and it doesn't recognize them. It tries to turn them into like math problems. So I bet it's like 2025, like it's like 4 divided by 2025 or something. It's ridiculous. I have noticed this happening occasionally too, but it was correct last time I looked at it, and then we PDF'd it and it went south, I guess. We'll be able to recreate that from a previous PDF.
Yes, I was just gonna say, I'm sure we can get that corrected for the next round.
I don't know that it's a big deal. I was just curious if it was some kind of code that we should be aware of.
No, I bet that's, for some reason, those are not in the date format in the cell. They're in some other format. But thank you for pointing that out.
All right. Other questions or comments on the grant tracking? All right, we will now move on to item 7B, consultations and the potential mitigation for the Crown/Los Tapatios restaurant facade changes.
And so some background on this information, background information on this. So you'll probably remember in November, Sarah presented on the zoning code violation for this property and the sign being taken down, and that we would be requiring a cultural resource survey, which is still in the works. The Los Tapatios tenants and property owners do have Cornerstone Environmental under contract to write a phase 1 cultural resource survey, and that will be coming to HPC for HPC review. It's still in progress. But in the meantime, as they're working on the building, they've submitted this scope of work that I've got pulled up here and sent out before the meeting, with some other changes to the building, as well as proposed new signage. And this is just early consultation. You'll still be receiving the report later on, but the report is going to be making mitigation recommendations. So part of why we're bringing it here early for consultation is to get your feedback on the proposed mitigation and look at it today. So just a quick recap of the proposed scope of work. So would be painting the upper portion of the exterior of the building, including the metal sides of the roof, washing and clear coating the stone along the bottom of the exterior of the building, removing stickers from the awning, which is the orange awning around the mid outside of the building, that says the Crown Railroad Cafe and entrance, and to clean the awning, and to remove the train illustration on the upper front of the building, which is actually on a plastic piece that is screwed into the exterior wall, and paint the wall underneath it. And on that, I would note that the consultant's research so far has pointed to that dating from the 90s. So that is not a historic mural. And remove decals from the windows and install illuminated signs on the east and west sides of the roof that say Los Tapatios Restaurant. So I will go ahead and pull up the signage so we can look at it. And we've got a couple other notes on that. So here's that, and I can make it a little bigger. So one important note here is that the sign cannot be replaced in kind. The previous sign doesn't meet our current sign code, so replacing it exactly in kind with the original is not an option. So this is what is proposed that meets all of our current code regulations for signs, for dark sky compliance. So that is what we're here for, to look at that. And you probably saw the note that I had here, but the PDF that was attached talks about LED neon, but LED is actually not permitted under our current code. So this would be neon, same as the historic sign. And with that, just also note that it looks like we do have questions online, but we've got 3 representatives from Los Tapatíos here in person and online, if you have specific questions for them as well.
Yeah, does the property owner, user have anything they'd like to add to?
Right, and yeah, the property owners.
I said /user.
Right, yeah. So the property owners have not joined. So yeah, just the tenants. And Henry online, feel free to raise your hand if you would like to speak, or okay. Yeah. So
Great.
Henry, if you would like to add anything to what I've said, you could do so now. Okay, yeah. Go ahead, Henry.
I feel like you covered everything. I don't really have much to add.
All right, great. We'll move on to commission. And again, Henry, if you have any input into any of these questions, feel free to chime in, or any of the other people here today. Commissioner Hayes, we'll start with you since you have 2 hands up, which I didn't know you could do.
Sorry, the number is the order in which people raised their hands.
But never mind. Commissioner Horn, you were first.
I was going to say, I think it was Amy first.
I was just wondering if you have a little more background on the building, like what's its National Register status? Like, has it been determined or listed on the local register? And just a little bit more background if you have it.
Sure. So some of that's going to be coming. There haven't been any official determinations for this building, so that will be coming in with the phase 1. And of course the building is not just the restaurant, so there's nothing yet official for the restaurant. It also includes separate building, but the property includes the Crown Hotel behind it as well. And the Cornerstone Environmental was working with the property owner on doing an assessment of eligibility that the city hasn't been involved in to date before this project, and that was to, I believe, was to help them apply for various tax benefits. So determining eligibility and getting a determination on that from the State Historic Preservation Office, so that way they could apply for tax benefits. This building was recommended eligible in a 2005 study that was never finalized. And that was the Route 66 hotels in Flagstaff nomination. So this was recommended as eligible then, but the city has not made an official determination on this property, although I believe Cornerstone, they were working with the property owner, as I said, to determine that it was eligible. So that is the status. But no, it is not locally listed. It is not, and currently in a historic district. I don't know what happened in 2005, but looking back 20 years ago, I wish they had moved forward with that nomination.
Commissioner Hayes.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Following up on Commissioner Horn's question. So this property I understood to be part of a corridor section on Route 66 that includes Pony Soldier. I think it included the El Pueblo, which is probably no longer eligible for anything. Um, maybe Starlight Lanes. It's in that kind of in that area. And I wondered, even if it hasn't been found to be eligible and listed, isn't it not treated as eligible until the evaluation has been made?
And yes, that is what essentially what we're doing now, is that we required that they do the cultural resource study because it is over 50 years old, and we are moving forward, with that it meets all of the requirements that it is going to have. And we are assuming, by bringing this here, that it will be found eligible, which is why it is going to require mitigation.
Second question is, you mentioned that it no longer meets the sign standards. I wonder what aspect of that is no longer current. And then also, did you say that LED doesn't meet Flagstaff's sign standards and so it can't be LED?
It cannot be the open channel LED, which,
Okay.
and so some LED is permitted, but not, the open channel that mimics neon is not permitted, where open channel neon is. And then, and the main other thing with the sign is you can see here this 20% that goes around the sign. The other restaurant sign is just too large. And that's the bottom line. And this 20% kind of buffer area that around it, this is as big as the sign could be under current standards. Sarah, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that if you'll remember from the discussion on the Monte Vista, we also discussed that the LED, the open channel LED cannot be used as a neon replacement because of our dark skies requirements. That's really the why.
Okay.
So yeah, that was a couple of months ago. So I just wanted to remind you, we've discussed that. I could pull up the Google Maps picture of what it looked like before, and maybe that would be a good comparison for the size that you're trying to explain, or do you want to pull it up there? Yeah,
Current Google map shows it without the sign.
you can like
So
time
is the
travel.
sign
I know,
then,
yeah.
overall the sign is it reduced by 20%? Is that what that's representing? Was the size too large?
Yes, the size is too large for the sign.
Okay, that helps
Yeah.
clarify.
Yeah.
And the neon part of it, I wish I knew more about the difference between LED and neon. And part of the reasons I'm asking this question is I'm pretty much ignorant of the difference of those lights. I do have another question about the neon. Is my understanding that's very hard to get anyone who works with neon or anyone who can repair that, and I'm wondering if they're aware of that.
Yes, and this is going back to what we've got here. So this was prepared, this mock-up, by a local sign company who is able to do the work. So, and so there are a couple places in town. This is Signorama, and there's another that can work with neon. And this Signorama prepared this. Okay, and thank you, Sarah.
Commissioner Hayes, was that your last question?
Yes, pretty
Okay.
much. I had also thought with the neon that the owner of the Monte Vista, I think he said he has been repairing his own. Didn't he present that? And he doesn't want to do it anymore, and he's one of the last few people who knows how to work with it. Or maybe I'm misremembering.
I spoke with him about it and he said, one, it's really dangerous to repair neon, and also it's very expensive to run. So he would like some alternatives. That's with the Monte Vista.
And I believe, I wasn't involved in those conversations, but also his precarious roof placement adds specifically to the problem at the Monte Vista, which at least this would not require anyone climbing all the way up that structure on a roof to get to.
And
Great,
one last
great.
comment.
Oh,
One last comment. And I only bring this up so that they're aware maybe before they embrace going for neon, because I hear discussion from other preservationists that there are a few people who know how to work with it anymore. I love neon. So if they can do it, that's great.
all right. Thanks, Commissioner Westheimer.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. So we lost the original restaurant, but the idea here is to recreate it, or do they still have the white restaurant part and they're going to repurpose it in a new location? That's part of my question.
We no longer have the sign.
The
So
restaurant word is missing, is gone.
is gone, right?
Okay.
So this would be a new restaurant word, recreated in a similar or the same font, but the original sign is completely gone. So this is just everything here would be new.
Okay, so
Do you remember Sarah's story of the city employee going to the dump? That was the sign.
Yeah.
So my other comment about this, and I appreciate that they want to recreate the word restaurant as it was, is a design point I'd like to make is that Los Tapatíos disappears. So it's invisible. And if you want to have a sign that says you have your restaurant, I suggest that you not use the red, that you use something closer to white so that they know what restaurant it is. Otherwise, no one's going to see it.
And on that note, I would add to the restaurant comes through in white because the channel behind the neon is going to be white, but it is still going to be red neon when it's lit, just like the original sign was.
So what would the Los Tapatíos would be with the red neon and red lettering? I'm just thinking if you're going to pay for a sign that says the name of your restaurant, it should clearly say to people the name of your restaurant, or it's really not worth your money.
Right. And the Los Tapatíos portion would not be neon, just the restaurant portion. That it would be, so it's different lettering and it would be internally lit letters in the red.
But during the day, you wouldn't notice that it's lit.
Right.
But in terms of mitigation, it'll look a lot more like the original facade.
Right.
With the restaurants, the more visible part. Other questions, Commissioner Westheimer? You said you had a couple. All right, Commissioner Horn.
Yeah, I had a couple. One just about the sign code, and I guess my question is, are there no exceptions for historic replacement in kind? And I'm not just thinking about this, but all the other historic signs we have, and when those go down, are we not going to be able to recreate those? I mean, that's really going to affect the character of the Route 66 corridor if we're diminishing the size and brightness and, other aspects. That's my first question.
Essentially, that's correct. If the sign in this case has been removed completely, then essentially you're installing a new sign. So that does have to meet the new sign code. So so that is the short answer. I mean, I think if the sign was still in place and we were talking about rehabilitating it, maybe replacing some of the materials, maybe, like if in the LED neon scenario, if LED neon worked for our dark sky compliance, that would be something we could work through. But for a building where the sign has been completely removed, then we're just talking about a new sign. And so if the feature is missing, then it's not grandfathered into any kind of code. Is that want to add to that, Sarah?
So this is an example I can give from a previous case. The historic Grand Canyon Cafe sign at one point was removed without a permit from the building. I don't know what the property owner had necessarily intended to do with it, but they'd taken it off and laid it on the roof or moved it to another site. They were cited And they were able to put it back up because they had the original material to put back up. That's why the story of the code compliant, that's why the code compliance officer went to the dump, because had we been able to salvage a significant portion of the sign, we would have worked through our code compliance process to get the sign put back up and rehabilitated. There's zero materials, and we consulted, this kind of came in while I was still acting, and then Lauren's taken it over and been working with Henry and the property owner. You know, both the National Trust and SHPO said they could not recommend replacing in kind if no original materials were available. So this would not have been kosher from a Secretary of Interior standards standpoint either, to replace it exactly as it was. The way property owners who have historic signs can rehabilitate them is come in and get that rehabilitation approved. They can then take the sign down for rehabilitation and put it back up. That's what happened with Whispering Winds. Grand Canyon Cafe put theirs back up. You can modify your sign, you can do a lot of things with your sign, but if you take it down and essentially get rid of it, you do not get it back. There's been another historic Route 66 property owner whose sign has been gone for 40 years and requested to have it back, and that's not allowed. So it's called an end to non-conformance by demolition is the language in our code. So those are kind of the three scenarios. One, if you had a code compliance issue and we had the sign in hand, we'd allow it back up. Or if the sign were on the property but not up, we might find a way to allow it back up. If you have the sign up and want to rehabilitate it and that requires taking it down, we can work with property owners on that. If it's gone permanently. And that's not just our standard, that would be the Park Service standard too, from what SHPO and the trust have told us.
Okay, thank you. That explanation helps a lot. And then I guess my other question is, and I think I just didn't quite keep up, but could you explain again though what is going to be illuminated, since what is on that design that was shared is not really what's going to happen, it sounds like? Whereas
Commissioner Horton, are you asking to pull up the other scope of work in addition to the replacement sign?
well, the design for the replacement sign has neon channels, LED channel letters. So I guess I'm just unclear what is illuminated on the proposal.
This is the sign. So just where it says restaurant, that will be like you can the white sort of like channel behind it of where inside this will be the LED, or sorry, not the LED, the neon tubing that will be in red. Right, or in front of the letter. So, and then Los Tapatios is a different type of lettering, and that will be internally lit. But this is the final mock-up that we have from the sign developer. The only thing that needs to be corrected is it says LED channel letters, and it will not be LED. It will be neon for the restaurant portion.
Okay, and originally there was lighting around like the pitch of the roof and the eaves, and I guess that will no longer be illuminated.
Yes, that's not that is not able to be put back and
Okay.
meet. And again, that was outside this 20% buffer zone around it, so it's just too large.
Okay.
Oh, and it also does not meet the current lighting code.
All right, other questions and comments from commission? Did you remember your question, Commissioner Westheimer? Okay. Commissioner Buckham, Commissioner Bertram.
I guess I just want to clarify real quick. So LED, not dark sky compliant, which is why we're requiring the neon, but we have concerns about the neon because it's more difficult to have to find the expertise to fix it and do that type of work.
No, the property owner and tenants have no concerns about that. The concerns were raised by the commission so the commissioners may have concerns, but the property owner and tenant have not raised any concerns about neon. And the Signorama is prepared to do the neon installation.
That's good to know.
I would just like to say thank you to the tenant for trying to rectify this mistake. And I think this is a nice homage to the original, while also I think with the washing of the stone and the removal of the little railroad cars, trying to make it look a little bit more like it originally did. And I'm looking forward to seeing the cultural resource study when it comes out. And I think that will help us. But I think this is a good plan for now. Because I know it's going to take a while to make the signs and things like that. And I know we're not approving anything today on this, but I don't necessarily have any large concerns about the way that this plan has been laid out in the notes. Anything else from commission? Commissioner Horn?
Yeah, I guess my preference would not be to include the Los Tapatios on the name, just to go back to a restaurant like it was originally. That's even closer to the original, even though the size of the lettering is reduced. And I feel like they've kind of, destroyed original fabric and are able to put their name up instead. And I don't really support that.
I agree with that too, especially on this side where the Los Tapatios is first. Like if another tenant comes in, like they'd have to make sure their name fits there because it's a separate sign. So I think that would be
on this side. If you moved restaurant, you wouldn't be able to move restaurant over.
Oh, okay.
It because of the angle of where it is overall. That's the only place restaurant will fit. So
because the R is tall.
Right. So okay. I think in both of these, restaurant would stay the exact same size. If you recommended Los Tapatios be removed, restaurant would not be any bigger because this is basically the maximum height.
That's where it can go. Okay.
Yeah, and that was my recommendation. Just I understand the restaurant would stay where it is as it is, but just to remove Los Tapatios.
An alternative might be to put Los Tapatios on the awning in bigger letters.
I don't know that you could attach this type of sign to an awning.
It could be screen printed on the fabric or however. I don't know what material it is, but I'm just thinking of an alternative and then an alternative.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like that when it was the Crown Railroad, that the crown part was on the awning. So there was not like a crown up above. So that is what the previous people did.
And one note on the awning, it is and that is true. The previous tenants did have that there, Commissioner Buckham. The research so far from Cornerstone has indicated that the awning is not historic. And so because of that, so one thing about putting it there is it may or may not be removed in the future. And actually, if it was removed, that would actually potentially be getting closer to the historic appearance as well. So just one other note of consideration to think about with the awning, and the cultural resource report will hopefully definitively say, but preliminary research suggests that the mural and the awning were, I think, both installed in the 90s.
But wouldn't it be following, not faking the historic if they put it on the awning? I mean, they don't have to remove the awning.
No, they don't. I'm just as a point of consideration. When we originally looked at this, we assumed the awning was historic and then found out it wasn't. So just one more piece of the puzzle to think about.
I think that tenants have alternatives to come up with the sign that works.
All right, so it sounds like we all like the restaurant part of this mitigation, but there are potentially some concerns about the Los Tapatios placement. Any other concerns as part of this consultation item? Other comments? Henry, is there anything you would like to add?
No, everything's good.
Any other questions or comments on this item? So it sounds like this will be coming back to us
Yes.
for approvals and cultural resource study.
Right. Yeah. So most likely that what you'll see next is the cultural resource study will come back. And I believe the timeline, it'll probably be the April meeting that it would get submitted in March and come to you for review in April. And then at that point, that study would be making some findings recommending proposed mitigation and incorporating this feedback. And so then that would be the actual approval step.
Great. Any final questions or comments or anything on this item before we, yes, Commissioner Westheimer?
Thank you for coming.
All right, great. Again, we look forward to hearing back about this item, and we will now move on to the miscellaneous items. What's going on?
Well,
but here, let's start with the official ones on the agenda, and then we'll.
So the first is miscellaneous item was just following up to let you know that at the January 7th council meeting, City Council did adopt resolution number 2025-01, which was to list the property that both the commission and the subcommittee, our new standing subcommittee, worked to list on the Flagstaff Register of Historic Places. So this is the, building at the corner of LaRue and Aspen, and includes all 4 addresses, 101, 103, 8, and 12. So just following up on that.
Yay.
So yes, great work everyone involved on the first Flagstaff Register of Historic Places listing in 30 plus years. And then our next 2 miscellaneous items, there was a request in previous meetings to Sarah about doing a historic design review training with Ariana Urban, the State Historic Preservation Office's CLG coordinator. And Sarah, do you want to speak to that quickly?
I have dates.
Yeah.
I have potential dates I'd like to run by you all that work for Ariana and for me and Lauren. The 2 best dates look like February 20th or 26th, like the morning of those dates. And then the last resort date might be April 2nd. March is just a stinky month, apparently. We have 3 completely incompatible schedules between the 3 of us. So if you know or want to talk about your availability, I think we have all 6 of you here. So
And we're still waiting on one more appointee.
yes.
And I can
Yeah.
quickly speak to that. So the next week's city council meeting, so the 21st, 2 of our appointments are going before city council then. And so it is the 2 current commissioners who are up for reappointment, and there was an additional 3rd application. However, no one who applied meets the property owner requirement. So that seat is still vacant and won't be filled until we get some applications for that. So I don't know if anyone on the commission currently who is not in the property owner slot could switch to a property owner slot to free up a different one. But I think what will happen next week is we'll have 2 more appointments, and we will still have 6 commissioners and need to move forward.
If a commissioner moves to a property owner slot, do they start a new 3-year term?
That's an interesting question. We would have to follow up with the clerk's office about that, about the timeline for that. But if you're interested. She's already. You're already. Yeah, okay. Okay. Right, because we have 2 property owner seats, so we're looking for a second, and they also prefer to have multiple applications. So tell everybody you know, and hopefully we'll get that filled. Oh, and Commissioner Hayes?
Though I will add, in the past, if we have, without additional applications, moved an existing commissioner to a different slot, in order to allow for other applications that didn't meet the criteria to be considered. There are maybe also, I just want to ask, can all the commissioners make sure you send your correct address to the clerk? Not all, I looked at the roster with her today, and not all of you have addresses, you have emails and phone numbers, but you're also supposed to list an address with the clerk's office. So please make sure you just email Stacy and say, just want to make sure you have my correct address on the roster. I think she would appreciate that. I'm pretty sure she's got Commissioner Westheimer's, but if anybody else has moved or anything like that, make sure she has your correct address.
Stacy Salzberg.
Yes. And I know Commissioner Hayes and Horn both have hands up now.
Commissioner Hayes?
Yes, could you say those dates again for potential dates for Ariana? I didn't get a chance to write them down quick enough.
Yeah, let's go back to that really quick. We kind of jumped to a different miscellaneous item, a related but different one. So the morning, it'd be like a maybe 9 to noon kind of training of the 20th of February, the 26th of February, and April 2nd. Those are the 3 days we were able to generate. And this would be a training that we would advertise a quorum for you all. We would also invite city staff who are interacting with permits for historic buildings, like the building plan reviewers and the current planners, and make it an optional training for them too.
Forgive me, but it'll take me time to dig out my calendar and I don't have a phone. So what day of the week? Is that a Saturday? Or those,
No,
are
those
those all Saturdays?
weekdays. Those are weekdays. I believe let me just check. I think the 20th is Thursday, and the 26th is a Wednesday, and April 2nd is Wednesday.
Wednesdays work for me. Tuesdays and Thursdays do not, because I teach in the mornings.
So the 20th. So really, we're talking about the 20th and the 2nd.
Yeah.
And Sarah, did you say it would be about 4 hours?
But I was thinking 3 to 4 hours. Yeah.
Okay.
Thursdays don't work for me.
Okay. So you're also a no on the 26th.
26th is a Wednesday, so the 20th is the day I can't do.
Okay. Sure. Okay.
It's
So-
kind of hard for me to get that off work, but otherwise I don't really have conflicts with those dates.
I imagine there would be like a quorum though, so we would have to record it. Or no?
We don't have to record it, but we do have to advertise a
Okay.
quorum.
Okay.
You're not having any, well, I can ask the clerk, like, cause you're supposed to be being trained, so you should be just asking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's not really a meeting then, it's a training.
It's
Okay.
not a meeting, it's a training, yeah.
I'd like to clarify something. You said February 20th, right? That's a Thursday.
I think
And
we said no Thursday, so there's 2 commissioners who can't do Thursdays. So I think we're just looking at the 26th of February, a Wednesday, and April 2nd, another Wednesday.
all right,
Yes,
I'm
but if 5
available.
commissioners. Go ahead.
I am available the 26th.
Yeah, I was just seeing if anyone else was going to chime in. Commissioner Horn?
I was just going to say I am out of town on the 20th, but I am available the 26th. And then jumping to the next item, I was just going to ask if Sarah could share the email where we should send our address information. Either a follow-up, in an email after the meeting is fine. Doesn't have to be now.
Yeah, Commissioner Westheimer.
So did you say that Ariana's training would not be recorded? Because seems like it would be a really good thing to record so that people could review it, or if they can't make it, they could watch it.
Sure. We could do that. We probably wouldn't have it here. It wouldn't be like this formal. We'd probably have it like in the staff conference room or something, like the conference room over here behind council. Those rooms can record as well. But we wouldn't have Nancy here taking minutes and stuff. She could come if she wanted.
And I just moved to a different page of the city website that has Stacy Salzberg's email address, which is stacy.salzberg@flagstaffaz.gov. And so going back to if there are no more questions about scheduling with the first thing, the second note is we were hoping with the new appointments to schedule a new board and commission training. And I reached out to the clerk's office about that, although I was hopeful that we would also in January be appointing the seventh commissioner. So so that maybe we'll work on this for February, the first training, and then maybe later on March or April, look at doing that training.
So just to verify, besides Duffy, no one else qualifies as historic property owner? Okay, I barely qualify as property owner, so. All right, tell your friends and family who do own things that there's an opening. All right, so that's
that was
it
for our miscellaneous
from
items.
To commission. Anything from commission? Commissioner Westheimer, you said you had an item or two?
I have 3 items. One is I was reading when last month we were looking at increasing a grant to a level 2. I was reading the signs and facades grants information, and I think that there's some editing that needs to be done just in terms of the amounts, because we all know that it's an additional 10 to B20, but the way this reads, it does not say that. It says, well, here it does. It says up to 20. It says additional matching level 2 funding of up to 20,000, which means if you had the level 1 and the level 2, you'd be at 30. So it should say, maybe it should say a total of 20,000, because someone who's an attorney might argue it.
Yes. Any other clarifications on that document or just that one?
Only thing I noticed was just that dollar amount that, because that could lead to problems.
Great, thanks. Your next item?
So I didn't want to say this in front of these nice people who took their time to come and listen to us with the Los Tapatíos sign, but was there a lapse in process that allowed that to happen?
No, all of the documentation that Mark Revis had prepared in earlier reviews of construction work on that property had stated any changes to the exterior of the restaurant needed HP review. The tenant did it. Like, they didn't come in for permits. It was unpermitted work. So there was several issues with permits that had been issued but not picked up before work was done. And so it was really a building safety compliance issue. And so that's why Kevin from Code Compliance was out working with the property owner until we got them a formal letter. And they did get a formal letter, the property owner did, of like, you have official code compliance issues and here's what they are. And they were basically a dark skies lighting issue that actually was documented for the previous owner, and they were unaware that it had not been resolved when they purchased the property, which happens. And then the second one was the work done by the tenant without a permit. So usually demoing a sign wouldn't require a permit, except that it was a condition of previous approvals, and it was a change to a historic facade without a resource study. So so yeah, it is the kind of thing that we can only deal with the aftermath of. We can't actually stop people doing things unless we actually catch like somebody. If a code compliance officer drives by and he sees someone doing something that he will sometimes go, I don't remember seeing permits for that. And he or she will go look up on their computer if there are any permits, and they will go talk to them and intervene. This was one where the work had happened more than a week before anyone called to tell us. So, and it was actually the property owner who reported it. So I think there was just a miscommunication on what the tenant should or shouldn't be doing. And they have had a lot of time to work with Lauren and become more educated both on this process and on the building and on these expectations. So that's just a tough situation. It is not the first time it's happened. It will not be the last. As much as we try and educate everyone, sometimes when the communication doesn't happen, we can't do anything about it.
Okay, number 3 is I'm wondering why HPC has not been included in the discussion on the land availability and the code evaluation studies. And, this especially comes to mind because they're going to, if things proceed, affect our historic areas, and in particular, Route 66 corridor, which is so much a part of this community's identity. So, and if that moves forward, we're going to have more of what we just experienced with the sign. Can we be included in those discussions? Because I feel like we haven't been and should have been.
So I know there is Michelle McNulty is the project manager of the land availability, suitability study and code analysis project, which is what the last CAP part stands for. It is important to know there's not a lot of public involvement in the last CAP except for presentations, because it is not an engagement process. It is a technical review of the code. And before any code changes happen, there must be a public process that includes public engagement. But this is a very analytical process. So if you want an informational presentation, it can of course be provided, or you can watch the one that council got. They would just come and do the same one. But it doesn't really dive very far into our historic preservation work. Historic preservation staff, including myself and now Lauren, are reviewing the document, but it is not a public-led process. It is a staff information gathering process. So it's just a little, it's maybe of a different flavor. So it can't just go forward. It's not like when the last CAP is done, that automatically happens. Everything that they say we need to do is done. They have to come back and we have to have hearings and we have to have meetings and we have to present things to the public and we have to talk about those changes. But we're just gathering that information to feed that process right now. I'll give it as a good example is there was a question someone had at the Planning and Zoning Commission for the county about the regional plan. And they said, well, have you had like an independent study of this topic? And the last CAP, I could say very confidently, yes, we have. The last CAP has an independent study of this and I can provide it to you. So it's really not, it's just findings. It's just findings of fact. It's not making decisions. It's not saying this is inevitable now. It's just presenting facts about what can be done and what we should be considering. So that's as far as it will go before it hits a more engaged process.
I did notice that other commissions were included, and I think HPC should be included. Sometimes the assumptions lead to information that's not accurate, and it seems that this commission should be included, especially since the regional plan wants to affect our Route 66 corridor and downtown areas. It's to inform the regional plan.
The regional plan's a little bit ahead of it in some ways, but we've tried to stay connected with the informational findings that they have. And yeah, the regional plan process, we've had presentations to the regional plan committee and the Planning and Zoning Commission, and we've included some last CAP information in regional plan presentations, but not a ton because it's just a fact-finding process. So that's the only offer of what you can do to be included is you can get information. There's not further inclusion at this time. And there will be another opportunity to send out the report that is being reviewed internally right now. They're published to the website. So if you have questions about them, you can contact Michelle as the project manager.
So were the other commissions included for fact finding?
The Planning and Zoning Commission, which oversees the zoning code, since it's a code analysis project, is correct. They are being informed on the process, and City Council is being informed on the process.
Could we be informed on the process, please?
Yes.
Were those all your items? All right, other items from commission members? Commissioner Hayes?
Yeah, I would like to follow up with what Duffy brought up. I did log in yesterday and I watched the city council work session, and I found that the last cap, if that's what that acronym is, was very interesting. And it did, I did think that that would have been a presentation that it would have been, and I think very useful for us as a commission to have seen. And I would like to suggest that maybe we are given sort of an opportunity to know what some of these projects are. I wasn't aware of that project until someone told me that maybe we can decide whether or not we want to individually on our own sign in or maybe as a group. I know this is a study and it doesn't change any code, but you know, in the spirit of doing preservation, you always want to be involved earlier or informed early. And there are effects that can happen to historic properties that are not always just direct, indirect effects. And not all properties, by the way, historic properties are always necessarily 50 years old. There are properties that achieve significance at less than 50 years. So I think it would be really good for the commission to see that presentation. And I'm hoping maybe we can just kind of get like a item on the agenda, just kind of an update of upcoming things. So we as a group can decide whether or not maybe we want to have a presentation or are aware so that we can log in when there's a presentation to the city council work session.
We'll move forward with scheduling a LASCAP presentation, which is similar to the one at council last night at a future HPC meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we don't always, we can talk about the process for planning, the presentations that we know about from planning and development. We don't always know what every other city department is going to present to council. I mean, until essentially when you would be seeing it when the agenda is released. So it may not be super far in advance that we could bring something to you to see whether or not you wanted it, but definitely if other presentations, the informational presentations that go to council, please continue to let us know what you're interested in, and I'm happy to reach out and see if we can get the presentations here as well.
Sounds good. Yes.
There was one specific miscellaneous item from our list that I think we skipped. The board and commission training.
No, Lauren talked about it.
I mentioned it, yeah, briefly in between.
Yeah.
In between the other one, but yeah, so we're still working on scheduling that and hoping to do it when we have a new appointment so we can do it for everybody, but it would be good just to follow up. It sounds like definitely no Thursdays. Are there any other, or no Thursday? Yeah, and no Tuesday and Thursday mornings, you said, Emily?
Yeah, it's when I have my class.
Yeah, okay.
Anytime before 11 is fine.
I can't speak for Abby, but I think she said it's hard to get away from work. Is that right?
I can try. It's fine. It's more of just, yeah, flexing or finding the extra hours.
And this would be a shorter training. Do you know the length, Sarah? An hour? 90 minutes? So not the commitment that the other one is.
If we have a low volume agenda, like we kind of did tonight, I know we've spent a lot of time on miscellaneous items, but if we had like a one item agenda, we could also just impromptu ask Georgiana to come to that meeting too. So, but we would want to make sure we have the newest commissioner, that we have a full commission, because it's helpful to hear it right from the clerk's office.
All right, any other miscellaneous items? All right.
Lauren's presentation she didn't mention on 101, 103 North LaRue, West Aspen, the two West Aspen addresses, was on the front page of the paper.
Oh.
If you missed it yesterday, but go find yesterday. We have yesterday's
Grab the
paper back in our office. If you would like to see it, I can grab it.
So exciting.
Yeah.
Go us. All right, anything else? Oh, yes.
I just have one request. I know you said Stacy's name again. Could you guys send that out by an email though? I didn't have a pen and paper and now I can't remember what you said and how to spell her last name. So
it's on the screen.
I just pulled it up
Oh.
again, but I can also email it to you.
I don't see it. I just see, I may not be seeing the same screen online.
It's the City of Flagstaff page, and then under the contact us.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I've already sent the email while everyone was giving their notice.
I put it in the chat too, just
Oh,
to
okay.
double down.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, anything else? Like Columbo in here, just one last thing. No, we're done. All right, I hereby declare this meeting of the Heritage Preservation Commission for January 15th, 2025 adjourned by unanimous consent at 5:15 p.m.